They can't hear us anyways. As soon as we drop the show, fuck your life.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL. NFL draft prospects and rookies. Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man Jay Rich. Count that money, man. Now wipe the crust out of your eyes. Get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. GMGP. It is Monday, July 24th, 2023. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G. And for that, I appreciate y'all being in the building. Good people. We got a damn good show on tap for you today. Training camp, baby. Training camp is kind of underway or officially kicking off tomorrow, but we got a lot of stuff from the Jets, from the Chiefs, Ravens, a little bit of running back talk, a lot of stuff to dive into today. Let's see who we got in the building bright and early this Monday morning. Shout out to my man Marlon. What's happening with you, baby? Boom! Marlon in the building. Elwood. Hype train, y'all know what it is, baby. Y'all already know what goes on at this time of the year. Gump is in the building. Dynasty Barry, what's happening? Yeah, Jay Rich, we could hear you on the countdown this morning. I changed an audio feature.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Let's
everyone
go.
heard you talking behind the show. Very unprofessional to start this thing off. What's up, David from across the pond? Ty DeClaire in the building. Hunter Joe Green, Jimbo in the building. Leo. Jay Peters, Patrick, man, Fizzle Dollars on the intro song. What's happening, baby? Jay Rich, how you doing this morning, big dog?
Jeez, man, I'm trying to produce this behind the scenes for you, make sure
say
you got
hello.
your music, and
Say
you throw
hello.
it to me. But I'm good, man. I'm good. I had a good weekend. Pretty chill. Not a whole lot going on. Last night, though, man, I am tired. I was telling you before the show, I was up till like 3 a.m. last night because, you know, my brain is just always thinking, right? Well, you know me. I was in my favorite place. I was down in the depths of DraftKings Sportsbook, looking up sportsbook lines. And they dropped their reception numbers. So we're going to see, man, a lot of cool things going on. A.J. Brown over under 75.5. Your boy Amon-Ra got bumped on his receiving yards, up 50 yards now, 1050.5. but lots of interesting things going on the sports books. And you know me, man, this is where my mind's at. My mind is on football all the time. And I'm always interested to see where these lines are changing, where they're shifting. They dropped Treylon Burks back down to 675. So lots of interesting.
Whoa.
675.
600 over under 675 yards for Treylon Burks.
That's entire 675. Season. The entire season. Well, right, to be honest, before the Hopkins signing, and I think it was kind of baked in a little bit. He was at 725. And I talked about it on the pod. I don't think he'll move too far because he wasn't very high. 675, not bad. I think I'm projected for right around 800 or so. But yeah, man, DraftKings Sportsbook dropping all the lines. So I got to go through all of that today for the pod tomorrow. And yeah, man, just up late, just grinding for the people, right?
I mean, you're moving on with the show. I'm just concerned that the sports books only have Burks projected for 675. That's no bueno. That is not good.
What do you want from this Tennessee Titans offense, man? This is their offense. They don't throw the ball a lot. So you got DraftKings. DraftKings is they're at 620, 675. Caesars is at 685. So again, pretty much lockstep for those guys. Not a whole lot of hope for old Treylon Burks, but this is what happens when you're second fiddle, man. That's it.
Woo,
that's what happens.
Man, well, appreciate you dropping that on us. And there have been some people asking, Jay, if we were going to do the season-long prop show for college and for the NFL, so we need to do that before the season starts.
We do have to do that, yeah.
Prize Picks, Underdog, DraftKings, just different lines, kind of shopping some of those lines. We'll talk through some of the really good price lines that we think are out there. We will definitely do that before the season starts. A couple of people have asked us for that in the YouTube comments, man. But Jay, I was gonna ask you our question, right? We always start this thing off. It's the litmus test for the show, how it's gonna go. And we've been doing a couple of these past couple of weeks, Jay, but I don't really have anything for you today besides the new alternate uniforms. Did you see those? And I just want to know which one was your favorite alternate uniform, because right now there's some really good ones out there. And Tennessee dropped theirs last night. Nasty, man. Seattle.
Yeah, Tennessee, those Houston Oilers jerseys, one of the best for sure. You talk about Seattle. I know I really like the Browns jerseys. You see Chief Njoku there. I think it's probably just the drop shadow on the numbers. Those kind of like retro style always looks cool to me. I like the twist with the stripe. The stripe looks great. But yeah, the Seahawks ones are awesome. I want to get a JSN jersey of that one.
This one is
the Houston
nasty.
Oilers and it's unfortunate because there's a team in Houston, but technically they went from Houston to Tennessee, and so it's like they technically own the jersey. It's a very interesting situation, but yeah, the jerseys they've been dropping are nasty. You know, people are gonna say the Creamsicle Bucks jerseys are awesome, and we've seen those ones before. They've worn those quite a bit. And then there's even other throwbacks like the Vikings one there. That one is a really cool color that I really, really like as well.
You
so
like
definitely
this
a lot
one?
of
Okay.
I like the matte on the helmet. That's always a really cool look for me. And I think the color purple not being so vibrant and a bit of a throwback look I really like as well. So, a lot of these are about bright colors. They went away with Color Rush. Now they're all in on the throwbacks, right? And I think people are definitely excited about that. Yeah. How did you feel about them though? Do you think we got a Cowboys throwback this year?
The Cowboys jerseys have damn near.
Do they have throwbacks?
Like they got some cool. They got some cool alternate.
It's just the color blue changes, and that's it. Although remember when they did the red stripe on the helmet? That was dope. I really liked that.
Yeah, this is. I'm just excited, man. I mean, football is here. Like we talked about it the beginning of the show, right? Training camp, like officially pops off today. Tomorrow is like the day. Everyone reports. Everyone's got to be there. We're going to find out who's reporting, who's not. And I believe the NFL Network will be like on the scene, interviewing players, interviewing coaches, doing their training camp tour. And that's when we get all the footage, all the practice reports. Because right now, Ray, and we'll get into it, all we've seen is the damn Chiefs and Jets. As if we can't get enough of the Chiefs and the Jets already. They were the first ones to have open practices to the public. And so all we've seen, Skyy Moore, a lack of Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice, Noah Gray. Heaven forbid we see some Travis Kelce highlights out there. Hey, hold on, man.
Guys that actually matter.
You're killing the show, man, because the way that Twitter's telling me is Kelce is going to be like obsolete this year. It's
dead.
All Skyy Moore and Noah Gray season. But let's get into some of the Underdog risers and fallers, man, because there's a lot of movement over here, and it coincides with some of the stuff that's happening in the NFL. So let's just jump into it really quick, Jay. Let's go.
Yep. From the biggest and brightest stars to the last round pick, we have you covered for everything on Underdog Fantasy. Let's get into it and let's get that money, baby.
All right, Jay, hit us with those top risers and fallers, baby.
So the aforementioned Skyy Moore is, of course, at the top because why wouldn't he be? He's the #1 wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. At least that's what Twitter would have you believing right now. And I think it is important to point out that the Chiefs do have 300 slot routes vacated by Mecole Hardman and Juju Smith-Schuster. And Nate Taylor from The Athletic reports that Skyy Moore is right now the most likely player to fill that void in the slot for the Chiefs, which obviously we know would be a massive role for any player. We talked about it with Juju, and he had a fine season last year. We know that Mecole has had some success in that role, and now you plug in a Skyy Moore, a Kadarius Toney, Richie James is getting tons of hype. Rashee Rice probably going to be more of a big slot than a shiftier slot guy. So lots of things coming for that Chiefs offense, and everybody wants to know who's getting the targets and when, and that's the hardest question we will ever try and ask. We all love Patrick Mahomes. We all love Travis Kelce, but we never know who's going to be the 2, who's going to be the 3, who's going to be the 4, and that's the biggest problem. Talk about other risers. We have Tank Bigsby continuing to rise. There was a running back coach talking about how when he watched his tape, he was glowing and he gave him a double-star rating, and so they had to draft him. He was very much in on running back Tank Bigsby, and we all know that they need to find someone to take some of the workload away from Travis Etienne. Doesn't mean the Etienne will be bad this season, but definitely Tank Bigsby will be pushing him for carries in the red zone with his size and ability. You have Nico Collins, who's been on this list for ages. Jerick McKinnon getting more hype with Isaiah Pacheco not reporting to training camp yet because he is still hurt.
No. He is at training camp. He is there. Well, he reported on time. He can't
participate.
I am going to take credit for Jerick McKinnon, his rise, and I'm going to take credit for the fall of Kendre Miller. I told you when I got on Underdog with Josh Norris, I was going to pump up the players that I wanted to see their ADPs increased, and Jerick McKinnon was one of them. So was Alvin Kamara. So it's good to see Kendre dropping down a little bit, McKinnon going up. And yes, Isaiah Pacheco was there present day one for the Kansas City Chiefs. So he is there, and he said he's going to be ready to go week 1. Yeah. I don't know. That's what he said, though. That's what he said.
Yeah, so, okay, now we can get into the fallers after you interrupted me. But the real guys, like you mentioned, right? Treylon Burks, Chigazomi Okonkwo, Chiggy, Treylon, they're going to fall, right? Hopkins signed, Kendre Miller, Alvin Kamara probably not get suspended for more than 4 games. The 2 big guys that obviously we're going to be talking about today, right now, and later on in the show, I'm sure as well, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and then Tony Pollard. None of them got new deals, but Tony Pollard did sign the franchise tag. Barkley and Jacobs probably not going to report to camp because no deal was made. And this picture, if you are watching it on YouTube, is from the podcast that Saquon Barkley did. Apparently it was recorded on July 11th. So it wasn't recorded on the Monday when the franchise tag ultimately came about. It was on the Money Matters podcast, which was released last Monday. And he was talking about his contract situation and basically said that his leverage is to not play. And while that's not what he wants, it's something that he has to consider so the Giants are sure about his worth to the team. And then his quote was, I might have to take it to this level. I got to sit down and talk with my family and my team and strategize about this because I can't just go off of emotions. Very smart, very mature answer from Barkley, and obviously blew up on franchise tag deadline day. If only it broke during the show, that would have been great. But Barkley going out and basically saying that he's unsure of what's going to happen. Ray, we will get into you, who traded away a Saquon Barkley share in a very important league, but also Josh Jacobs, like I mentioned, did not get a deal done, and Tom Pelissero reported that he was apparently waiting outside the Raiders facility with Max Crosby in his car to go in and sign that deal.
Which is not true. It's not true. No, he was not in the...
Ray.
That is not true. Pelissero got bad information. No, Jacobs was not sitting outside waiting to sign. Apparently, he was nowhere in the vicinity of that practice field, that they were very far apart. And I don't expect to see Josh.
Apart on the deal.
Listen, man, at this point, I call everybody the running back contract crisis experts. Like, I am not shocked that we've gotten here, right? Like, this is the big talk of fantasy Twitter, of the NFL, of everything, is what's happening with the running back situations. I recorded a podcast on my thoughts and feelings on it, Untitled, on Saturday. And here goes the list of running backs that apparently attended this work from home
world
meeting.
Famous Zoom call. Yeah.
So we've got Saquon, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, JT, Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, and the disgruntled J.K. Dobbins. So Austin Eckler set this up. They're talking about different things, and there have been different sort of like takeaways from this. One of the things that I saw, Jay, and I'm sure you saw as well, is that the running backs were talking about potentially embellishing injuries throughout the season to keep themselves protected and keep themselves healthy. Shocking. I'll just say this, and I'm going to be very brief because we got a lot of stuff to get to today. I don't believe there's any world in which any of these guys are going to hold out, sit out, not play the entire year. I think Le'Veon Bell, which it kind of worked out for him because he still ended up getting a very big contract from the Jets after his time in Pittsburgh, but it didn't work out for Melvin Gordon. Like, this probably will not end well for them sitting out. And plus, you have to play or be active for at least 6 games in order to accrue a season towards free agency. So I don't think that any of these guys are going to miss. And quite frankly, I don't know why Joe Mixon was on the call, because he just kind of screwed the running backs by taking a less deal. Like, I don't even know why Mixon was there. Christian McCaffrey's gotten a deal. Aaron Jones has been paid. Nick Chubb's been paid. Derrick Henry's been paid. Tony Pollard signed his tag. This is what I'll say. In this age in which we are with players, and you see a lot of player empowerment, you see a lot of these guys representing themselves, taking sort of their business and what they do on the field and treating that like a business. You see this, right? Across all sports, whether that be NBA, MLB, and college football, NFL is no different. If there were ever error in which we live or we have lived where these guys would say, the hell with the team, I'm going to protect myself and make sure that I can earn a paycheck next year, it feels like we're living in that era now. And while I don't have issues with Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs weeks 1 through 6 or weeks 6 through 13, the part that gives me the biggest concern in fantasy football, Jay, are the running backs on teams that probably are not going to be very good, that have dysfunction at the top, that could be 3-13 by the time we get to week 17, week 16, right? At that point, what incentive would they have to go out there and lay it on the line for their team, right? When they're 3-13, they're clearly out of it. The Titans have taken out Ryan Tannehill and inserted Will Levis just to see what they have. They want to figure out what they've got in Tajay Spears. What incentive do they have if they know, hey, Derrick Henry isn't signed through next year. We're probably not going to bring him back. We're not going to pay Josh Jacobs $20 million guaranteed. What incentive would these players have to go out there and lay it on the line in a meaningless Week 17 game, risk injury, and not be able to provide? Because what they've all said, and Nick Chubb said it too, Jay, is that these running backs realize that production is almost their best friend and worst enemy. It's like a double-edged sword, right? You produce, the NFL doesn't want to pay you for past production. You don't produce, you don't even get an opportunity to step up and eat at the table. So this is it's the nature of the beast, man. It's a replaceable position. It's a fun position. It's the position that people glamorize about playing through high school. You want the ball. Everyone wants to be the running back or the quarterback, right? But it's just proven to be a bad financial investment for NFL teams. So I'm just very, very curious, Jay, what's going to happen with the playoffs this year. You could see week 17 where it's Zamir White season and Matt Breida and all these other Tajay Spears, right? Like, just backup running backs, because these guys don't want to ruin their potential their earning capacity in the future.
Yeah, Ray, and I think, you talk about Jacobs, and that's the big case here, because we do not project the Raiders to be very good. Everyone has them last in the division or close to it, with the Denver Broncos and out of the playoffs basically guaranteed in a very loaded and tough AFC. And so you look at the Giants and say, well, they kind of overachieved last year. Maybe even they're ones that could not be in it come week 17, Jay, right?
7.5 with juice to the under right now is their projected win total.
So that's really where you should be looking and say, this is concerning, because as you mentioned, yes, we do have to play weeks 1 through 16, but week 16, week 17, that's when you go and win it. And if your guys are not available when you need to go and win it, why are we drafting Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs so high in these drafts? Well, Underdog Fantasy is a tournament where you want to win it all, and yes, there's risk associated with it, but man, if they're not going to be there or available, that's so tough, man.
Here's the thing, though, Jay. Here's the thing, and I got to be very clear about this. You can't do that. You can't do that. You cannot do that, right? You can't say, why are we drafting Saquon Barkley? Why are we drafting Josh Jacobs? What? This is the double-edged sword of this entire situation is despite the fact that I may feel that there are players that if you prioritize them, I would say there's probably a good chance that if this team is out of it, this player may not play. There's no hedging against this because Saquon is going to play. And when he plays, he's going to score you a lot of points in those weeks. And if they're in it, I don't envision a world in which any of these guys would sit. So you just have to do what you learned day one in law school. It's assumption of the risk. You just know that if you draft a Josh Jacobs, you better have a plan in place for if he's not there week 17. And you could say that about a lot of different positions, but where you're drafting those stud running backs in relation to some other players, you need to have some protection there. So you can't not draft these guys. You can't panic sell. Don't panic trade. Don't panic not draft. Just plan accordingly. Plan accordingly for certain situations where, like, I don't think that's going to be a Tony Pollard. I don't envision a world in which
Tony Pollard would be like, lowest risk, right?
Right. Lowest risk.
Cowboys should be in the playoffs. Already signed the tag, so lots of good things for Tony Pollard. But the other two, again, my personal risk, it's got to be Jacob at the top. I'm assuming you agree, and then Barkley next. Pollard, a pretty distant third between those two. I mean, but definitely the words on the podcast from Barkley gave us enough to think about. Is there potential for a holdout at the beginning of the year? And as you mentioned, him electing not to play if they're out of it towards the end of the year as well.
Yeah. So like you said, I just want people to understand that I don't think there's anything you can do, Jay. It's a game. It's random chance. Just assume the risk. And I do think that for me, like the number one guy that I'm just terrified of this year, I've only drafted him once in Underdog. I've got over 140 teams across all the different tournaments. Only person I've drafted once from these running backs is Josh Jacobs. Like I'm just nervous about him. So can I ask you a question then about how you feel about these running backs? Play a little game now. Do you want to start with Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs? And I'll give you players. And I want to ask you if you'll draft them over those players. Let's go with Jacobs first.
All right. So Breece Hall or Josh Jacobs?
Breece Hall.
Najee Harris or Josh Jacobs?
Man.
Do you want to pass?
Yeah, let's pass. Let's come back to that one.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Gibbs.
Travis Etienne.
Etienne.
Joe Mixon.
Oh, man. Mixon.
All right. Kenneth Walker. I feel like you're not taking Kenneth Walker.
I would take Walker.
Kenneth Walker.
I'd take Walker.
Okay, so we're in on Walker.
You're talking about seasonal
Aaron
league,
Jones.
right?
Yeah, seasonal league.
I don't know. I don't know about Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones. Probably.
I'm assuming not J.K. Dobbins because we'll get into him in a little bit.
I'll take Jacobs over Dobbins.
So then basically you have Josh Jacobs, who is currently on Underdog, 29.6, middle of the third round. You would take him about middle or back, actually, middle back, around pick 50 or so. Right in between Kenneth Walker and Joe Mixon's around pick 50 in ADP. So you're pretty low compared to his consensus. But in terms of Barkley then, would you take Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson?
I'm taking Tony Pollard over Saquon for sure.
And they're back to back, so that's not crazy.
Derrick Henry, no, probably not. I'd still take Barkley over Henry.
So then I'm assuming everyone below that, Stevenson, Jacobs, Hall, Gibbs, you're probably still taking Barkley over all those guys.
I could be talked into Stevenson. I really can. I think Ramondre's set to smash this year. I don't think that's a bad bet this year. I like Ramondre.
So no fears over Dalvin Cook because we haven't got into that yet.
Not really.
There's possibilities of that as well, right? So do you want to circle back with Najee? Because where are you at with Najee this year? I would say I'm kind of in on Najee. Early fourth round pick at Underdog drafts right now. Pretty good value, revamped offensive line. Kenny Pickett in his second season should hopefully be better this year. Volume should be there. We do like Jaylen Warren, but the majority of the touches should go to Najee Harris. And if you look at his second half numbers, he was like RB3, RB4 when it comes to per touch basis and actually in total points. So where are you at on Najee then? Because it seems like he was pretty close to being up there with the Jacobs, with the Hall, with the Stevenson, but he's drafted a little bit later in Underdog drafts right now.
Here's the thing, man. I worked up the Pittsburgh Steelers over the weekend, so I've got a film session on Jaylen Warren that's going to be dropping later this week. I'll just say this. I'm just going to say this, and I'll let people look at it for themselves. watching the Pittsburgh Steelers 2022 tape back, a couple of things jumped off the screen to me. A, the offensive line was god-awful last year.
Yeah.
It was so bad. So bad. That's thing one. Two was Kenny Pickett was actually pretty damn good. There were some throws and plays that he made. I tweeted some stuff out yesterday. There's some very encouraging and impressive throws from Kenny Pickett. And the third and most telling one, and it's very obvious, Jay, is it looks like Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard last year. When you're looking at Pittsburgh's backfield and you watch Najee run and then you watch Jaylen Warren, there's a big difference between those two. It's very clear to see which one has the juice, right? Which one. And it's interesting to especially see their splits in the Week 17 matchup versus Baltimore, where they kind of needed to win that game. Jaylen Warren was on the field quite a bit. Najee's dope. He's big. He's powerful. He can do things that a lot of players can't. But I think that Jaylen Warren's going to play a lot. And that's just my assessment of the situation. I went through 6 games yesterday, and I was very impressed with the young running back. But point is, man, listen, those guys are going to be dope. Jacobs, Barkley, all of them. Just plan accordingly. There's nothing you really can do to preempt it. I'm just aware that it feels like this is a reality that could happen this year, that you could get to Week 17. And I wouldn't blame one of those running backs. If Josh Jacobs says, screw y'all, like my ankle's hurt, I'm not going out here with 3-13. I'm not playing against the damn Colts. I wouldn't be mad. I'd be pissed, but I get it, right? I understand it. It's a business. So it's just fascinating. This is, Jay, this has a chance.
It's a big story right now.
It's a big deal, man. And I think what can happen over the next couple of years, and I'm going to just say this, man. Jay, how long have I been saying Jonathan Taylor is the litmus test? I mean, like, I want to see what Indy does with JT. I think what's happening right now and what could happen going into next year can fundamentally change how people fantasy football, man. I think if there are running backs that sit out week in the playoffs, if you see these guys not get these long-term contracts, everyone's telling you, keep drafting Leonard Fournette and Underdog. Keep drafting Zeke Elliott. Kareem Hunt. None of these guys. They come in for workouts and teams are like, we'll bring you in later, right? Or maybe they're like, we don't want to sign. I don't know what the deal is. But if running backs miss time, people lose fantasy playoffs, like it will be F running backs forever. Like people are just going to be out, dude. Like the value is going to be gone. No one's trading you 3 firsts for any damn running back. This is a big deal. And I think it really, we're right on the cusp of how people view this game and how people approach the running back position. I think we are right there. We are at the boiling point.
So question for you. Do you think this puts any pressure on the Colts to sign JT? Because we all know the talent that JT is. And I'm curious if, and maybe you don't think there is. And I tend to kind of agree with the sentiment that like, okay, they do this Zoom call. Like, what are they really going to achieve? They're the only position that's declined in franchise tag money over the last 5 years. And so you're like, where is this leverage really going to come from?
Say that again. They're the only position that's what?
Has declined. Their franchise tag number has declined. So I believe the exact number is in 2017. I forget the number for the quarterbacks and receivers, but for wide receivers, it was like 12 million up to 19 million from 2017 to now. And for running backs, it was 10.9 million in 2017, and now it's down to $10.2 million. So that tells you everything you need to know about the running back position. It tells you everything you need to know. And like you mentioned with JT, it's like, I'm just curious if this puts any pressure on the Colts to sign JT to a, moderately good extension. But the crazy thing is that for running backs now, if you got 30 million guaranteed, you are a superstar. Like you are so high above what the market is right now, because you see nobody getting offered even 20, 25 million. Like Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, they can't even get 12 and a half, 13 million guaranteed over 2 seasons. And so I'm curious if you have any thoughts about JT and what may happen, and if there may be any pressure from the Colts or from the NFL to kind of make this right a little bit.
Make what right, though? I mean, this is make what right? And that's the thing. It's business. The owners have operated like this for years. Teams have operated like this for. This is not new. The New England Patriots, like, say what you want, they've done it right. They have done it right
year.
Every single year. You can just go back to. Think about some of the running backs that they brought in on veteran deals. LeGarrette Blount, Steven Jackson, Corey Dillon, Rex Burkhead, James White, Dion Lewis. Like they continue to just cycle these guys in, and they have been doing it right for years. So do I think there's pressure on the Colts? Not at all, man. I think the pressure's on Taylor. pressure's on Taylor. What is he going to do? Is he going to take the stand, dig his heels in? We'll see, man. We'll see. It's wild out here, and it is a business. So if these guys do sit, I totally get it. Like, I don't want it to happen because you can't blame them, man. But Jay, let's go to, before we get into the Jets and Chiefs segment of the show. Let's talk a little Zay Flowers. Talk a little Baltimore Ravens right now, right? So Zay Flowers apparently, Jay, is the talk of the town, and there was a report from James Jones, I believe, former Packers wide receiver, and James Jones said one of the things that he's hearing out of camp is Zay Flowers is the best wide receiver out there, including Odell Beckham Jr., and it ain't even close. And we know that Rashad Bateman was not there at the beginning. He is currently reported. So, Jay, I just want to ask you the question. Are you buying or selling the Zay Flowers hype right now coming out of Baltimore?
I guess am I buying the hype? Sure. He's the best wide receiver when there's nobody there, and Odell Beckham Jr., who's 32 years old, coming off an ACL injury. So yeah, like, I would hope that he's the best wide receiver there. And as you mentioned, Bateman started the training camp on the PUP. That was like 3-4 days. And yesterday he was actually activated. So he should be present today and practicing today, at least on the field and cleared and all that stuff. We've been waiting for that. But yeah, I mean, Zay Flowers being the best receiver in camp, first round pick out of Boston College. He was pretty damn good in college, dynamic. So I would hope so, right? He's projected to be the number 3 wide receiver in this offense, potentially the number 2, maybe even long shot to be the number 1. So in my opinion, he better look like the best receiver in camp because he's a first round pick. Do you feel any differently? Am I buying this, or am I just kind of expecting this to happen?
I mean, I'm kind of buying it. He's young, he's fast, he's spry, he's quick. OBJ, from what I've heard, he's not going full speed yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then Rashad Bateman, the foot injury, just got back. He probably does look like the best receiver out there. I think he's got a good opportunity this year to thrive in that offense. And I've actually seen a lot of people, Jay, that are sort of moving Mark Andrews down due to all of the wide receivers in the new offense and believing that this could be a spread out attack opposed to it being very concentrated like it's been over the past couple of years with Mark Andrews sort of being the only ticket in town. Am I buying the Zay Flowers hype? Sure, I'll buy it a little bit. I'm excited for Zay. I'm excited for all these rookies, so I want to see what he does, and you've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, so I think he's set up to succeed. It seems like Baltimore really wants to get him involved early, so I'll buy it. I'll buy some Zay Flowers hype. I will buy some Zay Flowers hype. I want to talk to you and ask you, are you buying the sit-in / hold out of one J.K. Dobbins, one of the Zoom participants as well, and the Ravens actually went ahead and signed Melvin Gordon. So bringing in Melvin Gordon, Gus Edwards apparently is not all the way ready. Keaton Mitchell, Justice Hill. Tell me about J.K. Dobbins. Are you buying any J.K. Dobbins right now with his disgruntled feelings?
No, Ray, I'm not buying any J.K. Dobbins right now, especially when they go out and sign another running back. Now, that was more insurance for Gus Edwards because Gus Edwards isn't fully healthy yet. But I think the Ravens don't really fear the potential holdout or, like you mentioned, hold in of J.K. Dobbins simply because he wants a new contract. We've literally never seen this work for a guy who doesn't play football half the time. He's been injured, only played 8 games last season, he's only played 23 games his whole career, Ray, in the NFL so far. So heading into a contract year for him, I get why he wants to get paid, but he hasn't exactly shown that he's able to produce at a high level. And it's talk about this new offense with Todd Monken. Maybe they're not going to need the running back so much. And so that could be a hindrance for him as well. They transitioned to this, we can throw any running back in there, and they decided to go that route instead of let's just give it to J.K. Dobbins, let's give it to Gus Edwards, and Lamar can run it like 550 times this season. I don't think it's great for Dobbins. He's just chilling there, hold in at practice. But I mean, if they're going to roll into the season with Gus Edwards and Melvin Gordon, I don't think they're going to be that upset about that. It's just whether or not J.K. Dobbins wants to play, and that's kind of up to him, it seems. And the Ravens don't really care otherwise.
So a tweet from Fantasy Smith. That's Fantasy SMYTH. Shout out to Fantasy Smith. There's some stats out here. Last year, weeks 14 through 18, J.K. Dobbins averaged 99.3 yards per game, which was 4th most in the NFL. And his 5.9 yards per rush since 2020, the most ever amongst running backs with a minimum of 200 rush attempts. So just throwing a little bit out there. To your point, he hasn't played a lot. I don't know what he's doing, trying to get an extension now in a dying market, but
226 carries, dude's whole career.
Yeah, man.
That's not even a full season for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to end well for Dobbins, so I expect him out there. The real question mark is, does this disgruntled act carry over into the season to where the coaching staff sort of, gives opportunities that this is just, Jay, I have never felt like this before in the NFL. Like I think these guys, and I'm glad. I think you're seeing collegiate athletes recognize and understand their worth and, seek that out via NIL deals, however they do that. And unfortunately, in the NFL for this bad position, I think they're like, I know what I bring to the table. I think Le'Veon Bell had it right all along. You want to use me like a top receiver and a running back, pay me as such. It's just you play running back. So this is just, I think the shit is concerning, man. I really do. Like, I don't think this is just some gloss over story. Don't worry about it. They'll all be there and they'll play for the love of the game and for the respect of their brothers and their team. Like, all those guys in the locker room know it's a damn business. And I'm sure they would all tell you, like, hell yeah, we'd rather have them out here, but we totally understand them doing what's in the best interest of their family. So this is just a situation that I think is going to continue to be nasty, and I think we're going to see just the evolution of the running back position change a little bit. So we will continue to talk about this as the years progress. Jay, Dalvin Cook. So,
Ray, do you want to get into some breaking news?
We got some breaking news. What we got, baby?
We do have some minor breaking news.
Well, talk to us.
Nyheim Hines out for the season, Ray. Apparently, he had an offsite injury in his knee. Tom Pelissero just reported 5 minutes ago that he has suffered a significant knee injury offsite from the facility, and he is out for the season. So now everyone's saying, what's going to happen? Stock up for Latavius Murray, for Damian Harris, for James Cook. I mean, the reality is he's fourth on the depth chart. He's been a return guy exclusively. He's hardly been playing snaps at all. Doesn't really change much for them. If anything, maybe you go look at Jordan Mims, who's currently fifth on the depth chart because he will be elevated, obviously. Rookie. So, but outside of that, not a whole lot changes for the Bills for me. Do you have any thoughts on Nyheim Hines being out for the season? Hope for a speedy recovery for him. But for the Bills, I don't think it changes a whole lot for them personally.
Yeah, I don't think it changes a lot, Jay. And I actually did a film session on James Cook last week. And for those of y'all who didn't see it, go check it out. It's on the channel. I think Cook is fine, man. I think he's best utilized in space. I think Damian Harris is a little bit of a problem. I think Damian Harris is a better between the tackles runner. He's got poor hamstrings, but I think he's a better just traditional sense of a running back than James Cook. But, I mean, hopefully this gives Cook more opportunity in the receiving game. I hope he gets a little more work in the passing game. And unfortunate for Nyheim Hines. You don't ever like to see those type of injuries, especially so early. So, unfortunate for Nyheim Hines. That's tough news to hear. Jay, but Dalvin Cook. So, there's a lot of stuff going on with Dalvin Cook. There's some legal stuff potentially with him offering. I don't know all the legal stuff. What I did see is a couple of reports saying that the Miami Dolphins are apparently happy with their current running back room of A-Chain and Mostert and Wilson and Gaskin. We know that the New England Patriots, I believe, are still up there as one of the betting favorites to land Dalvin Cook. But there's been a lot of people out of the Jets camp saying continue to monitor this situation. Rich, what is it, Siamini of ESPN provided a mini Dalvin Cook update. Jets continue to show interest publicly. Unclear how new revelations about alleged domestic violence incident impact their thinking. Cook does have interest in the Jets per sources. So per sources, Dalvin Cook is still interested in the Jets, Jay. And then there was a subsequent one from Albert Breer who told Rich Eisen that I would absolutely watch the Jets in the Dalvin Cook sweepstakes. They view Cook internally as a way to be judicious in bringing back Breece Hall. This would allow them to be more cautious with Hall if they added a player like Dalvin Cook. So again, there's smoke around Cook in New York. We know that New York is right.
Smoke, yeah.
They're in win now mode with Aaron Rodgers, who said he wants to play more than a year. I don't know, Jay. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea.
So I was trying to find the odds, and DK pulled them down, so they don't have odds up for it anymore. But as you mentioned, the Pats were the favorites for probably the past week and a half or so. Once the Titans signed DeAndre Hopkins, Cook was kind of the favorite there. But yeah, as you mentioned, the Jets have always been in the mix, and they've always been looking at a running back, right? They've always been looking at a running back, whether it's Jahmyr Gibbs, whether it's Dalvin Cook, even potentially looking at other guys. Could go to New England. Could, it seems like Miami's not going to happen. We also had Leonard Fournette work out for the Pats. So that was interesting, right? No one wanted to hear that over the weekend. But yeah, Cook seems to be just chilling. And he said before, on numerous occasions, he said he's fine taking his time and just seeing what happens, seeing what plays out. And maybe he's waiting for an injury to see if someone gets hurt in camp, right? Every year it seems like a running back or two gets hurt in camp, out for the year. I mean, we've already seen Nyheim Hines out for the year, right? We saw Cam Akers would go out for the year a few years ago. So this stuff happens. And so maybe Cook's just waiting for that. And that way he can get his opportunity, hopefully get paid a little bit more than he would be looking at right now. And if not, maybe he just goes to the Jets, because the Jets have a win now team and are a pretty good team at that. And like you mentioned, would be able to kind of slow pace Breece Hall a little bit and just work in Cook instead of having to give Breece all those carries early on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll see. They're gonna sign somewhere, right? But I think you're right. Maybe they're waiting for the right time and all that stuff, man. But let's dive into the Jets a little bit, Jay, because I just want to know if you're buying the hype on their entire team right now.
Their entire roster.
Everybody is getting pumped up from the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, McCole Hardman, Corey Davis. I mean, literally, maybe it's because they're the only team really doing stuff right now, but every last one of them has been getting pumped up. But we all did see the catch heard around the world, Jay. Let's get us out of the way. Garrett freaking Wilson over here. Did you see this butte from Garrett Wilson? Well, Aaron Rodgers roll out. Look at that.
Do you know how many people on my timeline retweeted this, Ray? My goodness. I saw it from the fan angle in the stands. I saw it from behind the end zone. I saw it from the other sideline. Everyone was talking about this, and it wasn't just this play, right? You think it was just this one play at Jets practice? No. Aaron Rodgers could have thrown a screen pass to Tyler Conklin that went for 2 yards, and it would have been on Twitter immediately. Because everyone is talking about the Jets. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, it's Jets and Chiefs. They're the only teams that have had open practices. And I don't know if you saw this, Ray, but apparently the Jets, like all the teams, they sell tickets to these practices, right? That are open to the public. You can come watch, sit in the stands, watch practice. The Jets had four practices that were on sale. They sold out, Ray, in 3 minutes, to the point where the Jets had to say, okay, we got to add more practices that are open to the public available. So Jets tickets, Jets hype, out of control right now. Absolutely bonkers, but I can't blame them, man. Jets fans have been down bad for a while, so happy to see them thriving. But Garrett Wilson, and I said it with JV on the pod like months ago now. He is the only one who can contend for Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase land, the only player this season, and he has a legitimate shot to be up there. And people would say, well, he's already wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. I get that, but he's not viewed like a Jefferson, like a Chase. And by the end of this season, there is a very realistic shot that he is viewed that highly. And I think that people got to remember that when they're thinking about buying him.
How long have I been saying, if there's the Holy Trinity, air yards, yards after the catch, the ability to command the targets. It's very easy. If you look at his profile, you look at his advanced metrics from last year, he's an easy one to see truly. A lot of people talk about making the leap. A lot of analysts, I think they're going to make. How? Like, what areas in which these are these players going to make that leap? I'm telling you the areas in which Garrett Wilson can make those improvements and how he can become a true elite difference maker. I think he's right there. I think he is what he's going to be able to do this year, barring health. I'll put a bet on, I will put a sizable bet that he's up there with those guys. As long as he's healthy, he's going to turn into a warp difference maker at wide receiver this year. It's all the stars are aligning for him. You've got an efficient quarterback that's motivated. You've got an offense that wants to concentrate targets through him. You've got the pedigree. You've got the draft capital. You've got the confidence. Garrett Wilson lift off in 2023. I think he's going to go absolutely bonkers this season. I'm very excited for the Jets. The division in which they play in, they're going to have to score points. This could be very good for Garrett Wilson in 23. So, am I buying the hype of the Jets? Yeah, man. I'm buying the hype. I'm motivated. Aaron Rodgers is fun to watch play. Say what you want. He's a little annoying, but we know he can throw the ball. And when you've got talented receivers like Garrett Wilson, when you've got best ball darts like a Corey Davis, like a Mecole Hardman, let's go, baby. Yep. I want to see it happen, man. I want to see it happen, Jay. Let's talk a little Javonte Williams because listen, man, a lot of people at Destination Devi telling folks to sell.
Damn right we were.
Telling folks to sell that Javonte Williams, and now reports are he is going to be ready week 1 of the 2023 season, Jay. You buying the Javonte Williams hype, man? A lot of people still say he's a top 12 dynasty running back. You're crazy for having him so low. You Destination Debbie people are insane for selling him for second-round picks.
Any second, yeah.
Any second, man. Tell me, Jay, you back in on Javonte Williams?
I personally am not back in on Javonte Williams, but I think that we should be a little bit, right? I think we should be paying attention to this very closely. Tomorrow is the day, Ray. Tomorrow was first day of training camp for the Denver Broncos. If Javonte Williams is present,
he's not starting on PUP. It's
right.
It is confirmed.
But what is that? But what does that mean? Like, is he going to practice? Does he look good? And I think this is where you got to get on the Twitter or the X, depending on where you're at in your life right now, because the X is alive and well. But X.com won't prevent me from seeing what's going on with Javonte Williams. And I think we need to watch these Twitter docs because they're going to tell us, well, how's the gait? How's he running? How's he looking? Because we know he had a significant injury and we just need to see what is he looking like, because PUP or not, I don't really care whether a player's on the PUP. You know, when you see a Kendre Miller on the PUP, we're kind of like, that sucks. But again, he was hurt like 7 months ago, so we can't be that surprised. So now you look at Javonte Williams, who obviously had a significant injury. We just need to see how he looks, and if he's available, hopefully he's fine. But like Breece Hall, it doesn't mean he's going to start out the gate hot. But hopefully by the end of the year, if he starts the season on the Broncos, healthy, on the active roster playing, by the time the end of the season rolls around, he will be good to go. And I think that's the encouraging thing right now if you have Javonte Williams.
I see one right here. Shout out to our friends at Trades and Five.
Let's go.
Give me Damian Harris in a second over Javonte. Would you take that? Damian Harris in a second?
I guess so. I'm not a big Damian Harris guy, though. I get the profile and kind of expectations, but yeah, I'm not a big Damian Harris guy.
We got some good discourse in here about a little Amon-Ra. Dynasty Barry said Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson in the same range of outcomes. Either can be the wide receiver 3 next to Chase and JJ, or fall into that flat range of warp between 8 to 20. And our girl Joe, shout out to Joe. I didn't see her in the chat. She said Garrett Wilson is highly unlikely to lap Amon-Ra. I kind of disagree with Joe there. I think
100% disagree.
I kind of disagree. Love Joe. That's my girl. But my issue with Amon-Ra is he doesn't command air yards, and that's a problem. You could just go look at all the elite. You talking about wide receiver 1, 2, 3. They've got those 3 things in common. He has the market share. He has the yak is there. No air yards. Like they do not use him down the field. So unless you're going to tell me a world in which he's going to catch the ball, 150 times and score a shit ton of touchdowns, I think that's the one missing component that he has. And that's what's keeping him from making that next step, as I think Garrett Wilson will be able to encompass those downfield targets, which are so valuable. So, Jay, let's go to another player, and we're gonna pivot to the. So where are you at with Javonte Williams? You said you wouldn't.
I think I would be monitoring it closely, and if you want to buy, I couldn't blame you. I think there's a reason to be optimistic about what we're seeing for Javonte. And if you want to trade a first for him, I can't really blame you. I wouldn't do it. But again, if you believe that he's going to be back and healthy, the big thing is the Sean Payton offense is very running back friendly, but we can't forget that they are a 2-back system, and Samaje Perine, for better or worse, will be involved in this offense. And that's the one thing to remember. Yep. Javonte can be a primary back and get a large share of touchdowns, which we've seen from Saints backs in the past, but there will be Samaje Perine involved, whether we like it or not.
Yep. Jimbo said he's talking about Amon-Ra. Said he might get some air yards, but only for the first 6 games. So he's alluding to the fact that J-Mo's not there. And I'll just say this is first of all, who's been the biggest Amon-Ra truther since he got drafted? Who's been the biggest Amon-Ra? It's been
you. I've been the one telling you to chill too.
There's been not a soul on Twitter, not your favorite fantasy analyst that has liked Amon-Ra St. Brown more than me. But even in college, Jay never did. Go look at his air yards at USC. None. Yeah. He's never done it. So you're telling me that a player going into year what? This is year 4, year 3 for Amon-Ra?
It's only year 3. Year 3 versus year 2.
I don't think it's going to change. They use him how they use him, which is fantastic, but I just don't think it's going to change. So,
and Jay, Ray, one last point.
What's up?
Garrett Wilson, more targets last year than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just saying. Rookie season, Garrett Wilson, more targets than the big guy, the one, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 147 to 146. And now you're telling me that this guy who had 147 targets last season gets an upgrade at quarterback that is probably
you made it seem like it was way more, but listen,
the most significant quarterback upgrade in history. Again, Zach Wilson, one of the least efficient quarterbacks in NFL history, all the way up to Aaron Rodgers, who's been the most efficient quarterback in NFL history, I believe, over the past 3 seasons. So you look at that and you're like, my goodness, what an upgrade. But
here's the thing.
To people who say that Amon-Ra's better, more targets for Garrett Wilson.
I don't know. They're both dope.
Saying.
We're arguing over a slot or two. That's the beauty of this, right?
Yeah, slot receiver and X receiver. They're
both dope. They're both dope. Somebody said if Amon-Ra had a better QB with the area, I just don't think it's that. Jared Goff is fine.
He's got a good QB. He was a top 10 quarterback in efficiency last season.
He's fine. He just doesn't do that. He just doesn't do that. Go look at his air yards. He just doesn't do it. So
and they don't utilize him that way.
And they don't utilize him that way.
Yeah, like Jared Goff can do it, but they don't utilize Amon-Ra that way.
Yeah, they don't use him that way. All right, well, let's talk about a player who they are going to use that way out of Kansas City. They're going to use him in every way. I'm talking about
here we go.
I'm talking about Justyn Ross, baby. Justyn Ross. Yes, that Justyn Ross, Jay. Apparently
quit Justyn Ross.
Running with the first team, Patrick Mahomes, special teams, breakout season. He's off to a hot start. Where you at? Where are you at with Justyn Ross?
I drafted Justyn Ross in Scott Fishbowl, and that's about it. That's about where I'm at. I think, this is the 3rd year in a row we've got Justyn Ross hype train in the offseason. But this is what happens. When you sign to the Kansas City Chiefs, you get pumped up. You get hyped up. He could be great. And I think the bigger point is if you're talking about the team and the scheme and what they do well, if for some reason he could beat out Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who wasn't that great last year in the Chiefs offense, there is a world where he plays that X role. How valuable is that role? We don't really know because they've never really had an X receiver like that within this Mahomes offense. It's always been Kelsey and Hill, and last year it was a mix of Juju and Mecole. So we've never really seen this outside guy thrive. MVS had a fine season, but again, you don't want to start him week in and week out. If Ross can somehow beat him out, maybe there's a role for him on this offense. Outside of that, I would take Rashee Rice. I would take Skyy Moore. I would take Richie James to win that slot role and earn targets that way over a Justyn Ross on the outside.
Got Marlon pumping up that Skyy Moore. Skyy Moore, wide receiver 1, please. We got Andy Reid pumping up Justyn Ross. It's gonna be fun to watch. I'm just
do you
glad.
Think he can make the roster? Is the question?
I think it's
because there's still Justin Watson, who's been great on the team. We don't like Justin Watson, but he's filled in at wide receiver pretty well. He plays special teams, and the Chiefs like him. Versus Justyn Ross, who may not even make the roster.
I think he's gonna make the roster. I hope he makes the roster. I want to see him play. Hope he makes the roster. Everyone's still talking about Amon-Ra. And Joe, yes, I get it. I know air yards by itself. This is an hour show. I can't. I don't have enough time to trust me. I know we've done the data. I can't dive into it on an hour show, but I understand that by itself, just throwing out air yards. But there is more. If I keep hating on Garrett Wilson, I haven't yelled at people in a long time. I don't yell at anybody anymore. Life is good. Life is too good to be yelling. So I appreciate the discourse. I like. Joe.
Absolutely.
Joe, wait a minute, Joe. I was on the Gibby train with you. My girl, come on. I pumped up Gibson the other day. Nah, man. These are good players, man. Amon-Ra's dope. Garrett Wilson's dope. We're just trying to figure out who's going to be better, right? We make a bet. Who's going to be better this year? Both are going to be freaking awesome. I'm going Garrett Wilson. Y'all are going Amon-Ra. We'll have some fun. We'll have some fun on the show. But both of these guys, super dope. Justyn Ross makes the roster. We'll see how this play. Marcus says Ross is donezo. He said no. Get out of here.
How about
with that.
Kadarius Toney, Ray? Kadarius Toney tweaked
I'm not talking about
his knee.
I'm not talking about it.
Tweaked his knee doing kickoff yesterday. Not good. Not good.
We are not talking. I just can't with Kadarius. It's going to be Richie James. Watch it be Richie James. Watch it be Richie James.
It could be. Richie James was great last year.
Watch it be Richie James. Watch it be damn
I'm a
Richie
big
James.
Richie James guy.
He's the guy we should have been drafting all year. And Rashee. And what did we say during the draft, Jay? What did I say during the draft? I said
about Rashee Rice.
About Rashee Rice, because nobody wanted Rice there. We wanted Flowers. We wanted Jalen Hyatt.
We wanted someone with a bit more speed.
I said, watch Rashee Rice be the one that actually is good. Watch him be the rookie wide receiver that's actually Patrick Mahomes' number one in a year or two. We should have been drafting Rashee Rice. Jay, a couple of other smaller little news notes, news nuggets and notes right here. we got another little report out of Bears camp, right? And little Bears camp right here. If Roschon Johnson takes over as the starter week 6 or 7, it would not shock me at all. I think they're really high on him. This is from Zach Pearson of the BearReport.com, pumping up Roschon Johnson. So a backfield that consists of Khalil Herbert, that has D'Onta Foreman. Who else do they have back there? Herbert, Foreman.
I think one other guy. I don't know who, but
somebody else. And they've got Roschon Johnson. We know he was behind Bijan Robinson, 6'2", 220 pounds. Monster. Saw him at the Senior Bowl. Can catch the ball, run between the tackles. He's not a lot of wear and tear on those tires. Where you at with Roschon? I haven't heard a lot of people pumping up Roschon lately. Where you at with Roschon Johnson?
I don't know if he can beat out D'Onta Foreman, but I think to your point, he could carve out a receiving role in this offense. You know, the guys you were thinking of was Travis Homer, which I forgot he was even on the Bears, but the guy you were thinking of was Tristan Ebner, you know, 5th on the depth chart, so he's probably getting cut, right?
Tristan Ebner,
but going back to Roschon Johnson, I would not be shocked. I think the question is what is that role that he can occupy? Because I don't know if he's a better rusher than I'd say D'Onta Foreman is. I think we've seen enough from Foreman to know he's a pretty good running back in the NFL, good, right? For what he does well, I would say he's better than Khalil Herbert. And so if you say Roschon Johnson can kind of be the spell back to D'Onta Foreman and assume the receiving role, I think that would be pretty good. The problem is what is the receiving role on the Bears? As Brandon just said in the comments, not very good because Justin Fields doesn't like to throw the ball, period. He likes to take sacks, likes to run the ball, and he doesn't throw to running backs. So, again, maybe they can build an offense around Roschon a little bit, design some plays for him. But, again, I just don't know what to expect.
So Barry said Herbert still being taken the highest of the 3 main options in Chicago. No, thank you. Joe says Roschon or A-Chain this season. Which one would you? That's a good question because there's a world which both of these guys are just running back 3s. But there's a world in which it's Mostert and Wilson, and there's a world in which it's Foreman and Herbert. So if you had to put your stamp on one of these two for this season, not Dynasty, not 5. This year, you want A-Chain or you want Roschon? This is a good question.
Are we talking total points or are we talking about like starting in your lineup?
No, we don't talk no damn total points. Who would you want us put in your lineup week to week? Points per game. We don't do total points in the season. RB does. Well, you know that, man.
If I was picking a guy, it would be A-Chain because I believe that they have a plan for A-Chain from the jump, right? And I think we've seen enough from Mike McDaniels. We know that he will get his best players the ball no matter what. Right. And that's where the confidence I have in McDaniels and in the Dolphins offense. We saw him throw the ball 380 times to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle last year. They didn't even use a tight end. They did use their backs, but I think that they drafted A-Chain and they have a plan for him, and it's the place we wanted him to go all along. I don't know what to expect from the Bears. And like I mentioned, I believe that Foreman is a capable running back. And so what is the role for Roschon Johnson? I'm not sure. Do you feel any differently, though? Because, again, I know you're a big A-Chain fan, but would you prefer the potential week-to-week security that Roschon could provide down the stretch if he wins that job in week 6 or week 7, like this report kind of mentioned?
Yeah, I think
because A-Chain's probably not going to win the role, right? That's the big thing.
Well, Patrick said best ball A-Chain lineup Roschon. I agree with him, but I kind of don't want to cop out. I feel like that's a little bit of a cop out. I want Roschon because for me, he does profile as a 60%er. He profiles as a guy that can be, or at least has the archetype to be a guy that's on the field, primarily the rush attempts and play on third downs. The issue that I have with Roschon is the lack of trust that I have in Justin Fields to throw him the ball in those valuable spots. And maybe, and I don't have Fields' numbers up, so maybe he's a little better at this than I'm giving him credit for right now. But if I'm just depending on Roschon to just turn around, hand him the ball, and he needs to go make it happen, I'd probably rather have the guy that may play in space a little bit more. The home run ability of a Devon A-Chain, I probably would take A-Chain, Jay, but I don't feel great about it. Like I just don't feel great about it. I'm more confident in that offense moving the ball, being more creative than what Chicago's going to be able to do. But I really like Roschon Johnson, man. I agree with Zach Pearson that I think that he could really factor in. I think he's a better running back than Khalil Herbert. Now, that's just my personal opinion, which matters only so much, but I do think he's a better rusher of the football than Khalil Herbert. I've got concerns about Justin Fields utilizing running backs in the receiving game. So that's sort of where I'm at.
So 40 targets last year, Dave Montgomery, and then I believe the number was 12 to Khalil Herbert. So not a ton, about 60, but again, they don't pass the ball a lot either.
Yeah.
So 60 out of Justin Fields' or team total 377 is actually a pretty solid number, right? So he had over 10% of the team's total targets last year, Dave Montgomery did, which is actually a pretty solid target share. So you give Roschon 10%, maybe those attempts go up a little bit, 430, 450. You're looking at potentially, 40 to 50 targets for Roschon if he assumes kind of that entire role in the receiving game.
All right, Jay, we got a couple of rookie tight end news and note pieces that we want to get to and talk through and just get your opinion on this. So first, our man Adam Levitan from Establish the Run, he's talked about, Sam Laporta. But here goes some reports on Laporta via The Athletic. We knew it was only a matter of time before he emerged as tight end one. The question was whether that would occur during the season or at some point before then. But at this rate, Laporta looks like the tight end one. He's quite obviously the most talented player at the position, and he received plenty of first-team reps on Sunday. He might have already passed Brock Wright. The only thing holding him back would be the Lions trying to ease him into NFL action, but he looks ready to roll. And then from the same division, Jay, we've got another quote, quote here about Green Bay Packers rookie tight end Luke Musgrave. This was a direct quote. It said, "Yes, I think Musgrave will be tight end one by week one. The Packers think he can be a true number one pass-catching tight end that Robert Tonyan was at times, but not consistently enough. Someone like Jermichael Finley in his prime, perhaps. The best-case scenario for the Packers is Musgrave developing into almost a wide receiver, someone who can line up anywhere, make plays all over the field." Here we go. Like a Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, and the other most athletic tight ends in the NFL. He'll have to prove he can block adequately, though, which the Packers need from him after Mercedes Lewis's departure. So you've got Sam Laporta and Luke Musgrave, both of these players drafted, close to back-to-back to one another in the NFL draft, both of them in the NFC North, both of them stepping into roles where the incumbent starter is no longer there. So they're just battling with sort of backup players. Musgrave, Laporta, Jay, rookie tight ends are often bad bets, often very bad bets. But these two tight ends in particular with Ben Johnson's offense, with Jordan Love apparently looking pretty good, people excited about him. Talk to me about these two young tight ends, man.
This is tough for me because you think about the role and what could be in an offense, I would probably prefer a Luke Musgrave. But when I look at the talent of Sam Laporta versus Musgrave and kind of how I would project them in the NFL, I'd much rather have a Laporta. And so it's kind of like, would you rather go after and target that ceiling production of a Luke Musgrave if everything hits? Versus Laporta, who, yes, they did have TJ Hawkinson and didn't really utilize him, but they also, when they traded away TJ Hawkinson, threw the most touchdowns to tight ends in the NFL over that stretch. And so you're saying, well, if Laporta can assume this role and, in some ways could be the number 2, number 3 target in games behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially while Jameson Williams is suspended. But after that, you're looking at probably the 4th option on the offense, which is tough, versus, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed in the slot, and then potentially, a Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft split. That's the only fear there. If it was talent and opportunity, I would probably still lean Laporta because I like him better. But again, both of us are big fans of Tucker Kraft as well and believe he's a more complete tight end than Luke Musgrave. So I think they will be splitting reps, especially in year one. Do you feel any differently about these two guys?
I mean, I think they're gonna give Musgrave first crack at it. I mean, they drafted him first, clearly. I mean, he was drafted pick 40 something in the second round, top 45 pick. They're gonna give him the opportunity to be the guy, and he's athletic. He's very fast. We saw him at the Senior Bowl. He's very large,
Huge,
big target, massive target, very big. So I think he's gonna get a crack at it. We'll see. We're seeing these players get thrown in to situations early. I'm excited for Sam Laporta. I think he can. I just hope that Ben Johnson incorporates him a little more than they did TJ Hawkinson, but I think Laporta could be very good, and he could be very good early. I think both of these players have the talent to be pretty good early.
All right, question for you then. Who do you think will be the number 1 rookie tight end in 2023? Right, we have Dalton Kincaid, first-round pick, Michael Mayer to the Raiders. We got Laporta, we got Musgrave. You can maybe go another direction as well, but those are kind of your 4 main guys right now that are going to contend for tight end 1. How do you feel about those guys? And who do you think could be the tight end one? Again, we're not saying a lot because it's probably not going to be substantial production, but who would you pick as your tight end one in 2023 from the rookie class?
I'm gonna go off the beaten path, man. I think I'm gonna go Michael Mayer. I want to say Sam Laporta.
Right.
I want to say Sam Laporta. I want to say Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta.
So bad.
My only issue is they got a bunch of players that command the short and intermediate targets. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and now you add Sam Laporta to the mix. Now, I get it. He can run downfield. He can run some deeper targets. When I look at the Raiders and reports, Jimmy Garoppolo, as we predicted on the show, just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Passes physical, starting quarterback. No, I mean, it's who do they have? Austin Hooper and O.J. Howard?
Yeah, Austin Hooper and O.J. Howard, yeah.
If Mayer can assume that role, I like him with Jimmy Garoppolo for this season. I really do. Kincaid, I like Kincaid long term this season. No, I like Kincaid long term. I know my friend and co-host Scott Connor likes to shit on Kincaid, but it's where he's been drafted, right? It's the expectation. He's being drafted as tight end like 5 or tight end 4. I get him, right? But I think long-term Kincaid is going to be fine. This season, we'll see how it plays out. I like Mayer, man. I like Mayer in Vegas. There's nobody. I mean, you got Jacoby Myers, you got Tay Adams, but if this team is going to be a dumpster fire, which I think they will be, I think defensively they're going to be a wreck. Offensively, we'll see how that works out. Probably going to have a ton of opportunity. I think Laporta is going to be so good long-term. I think he's going to be just fine. This season, if I had to pick a rookie tight end, it'd probably be Michael Mayer. But interesting. I see the comments. I see a lot of Laporta, a lot of Mayer, a lot of Laporta, a lot of Mayer, a lot of Laporta. So this would be a fun little battle. Jay, the final little piece of news that we're going to talk. I feel like like Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. They talk about the Lakers every show. They talk about the Lakers every show.
Why is our Lakers? This is not how we should be running. This is not great for marketability. Talk about this all the time. But get into it.
We are in the weeds. We are in the thick of it now, my friend. Speaking of the thick of it, I finally saw Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse this weekend.
Oh, how was it? Was it good?
Oh man, let me tell you, the movie was fantastic. Jay, I'm in the parking lot. And, I park my truck away from everybody. I'll fucking walk a mile. I've had bad experiences with door dings, so I park far. I'm in the parking lot. And I'm seeing all kind of balloons and pink, like girls in like pink nightgowns. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why is everybody in pink nightgown? Dude, I have not seen this many people in character at the movies since Black Panther.
Really?
Barbie had to have been the equivalent.
Barbie mania.
It had to have been for white women what Black Panther was for black. I mean, they were in the movie dressed to the T, Jay. Barbie, pink. It smelled like just flowers and fucking lavender in the movie. I mean, it was just everywhere, flooded with pink, dude. I could not believe that many people went to see Barbie. I was shocked, Jay. Completely shocked. But then
I'm with you, bro. I don't get it at all. Like, I didn't even think Barbie had that big of a fan base, and apparently it's like smashing the box office with Oppenheimer and like all this stuff. Where is this fandom coming from? I thought Barbie was basically like an old toy at this point.
That's what I thought, right? But I mean, they were dressed. I mean, now listen, when Black Panther came out, my people was in there dressed all kind of ways. So I'm not. This is no shade because I've been there, man. I walked into Black Panther.
I wore the costume and I was like, let's get it.
I am Wakanda forever. I mean, I'm just really in that thing, right? So. What was I talking? Where was I going with this?
We're going to the biggest story of the offseason, every offseason. The San Francisco 49ers quarterback situation, Ray. Talk to the people about, once again, Mr. Brock Purdy.
Reports are, depending on who you talk to, he's been throwing for like 2 months with pain-free. Nothing in his elbow.
Boom.
Our injury guy, Destination Debbie, Jeff Mueller, said, Brock Purdy has been throwing for 8 weeks now without setback. There are 7 more weeks to go until week 1. Then you see my man Connor Allen, shout out to Connor, talking about how good Brock Purdy was the 49ers under Brock Purdy weeks 13 through 20. Jay, is he starting week 1? When do the Niners open camp? That's what we need to know.
They already opened camp, or they opened camp today. So it'll be either today or tomorrow if they're not open yet. But I believe they've already reported for camp, because lots of reports about Deebo Samuel and what he's going to do this season. But Brock Purdy's going to play, man. Week 1, he will be there. It seems like a for sure thing at this point. So the question is, Ray, because still we have no resolution for Trey Lance. There's no resolution for Trey Lance. And if he's the third string on the roster, then what do we do? Well, not me, because I don't have any shares, but what do people do?
I'm still on this Barbie conversation. I see Barbenheimer. Joe said she's going to go see it tomorrow. Jay, I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess we'll find out in a day or two who's taking reps with the first team offense. And here's what it's going to be, Jay. They're going to split reps all camp. Guarantee you, Brock and Trey Lance are going to alternate days as the QB1. Kyle Shenanigans.
I don't think they're gonna, though. I think it'll be pretty quick.
Shenanigans is gonna put us through it, man. He's gonna put us through it, Jay. I've got a feeling it's going to be just pandemonium. Who's starting week 1? I'm gonna ask the question every damn show.
Purdy. Absolutely Purdy. Not even close.
Not even close. Okay. All right. You heard it from Jay Rich. Not even close.
Yeah,
Brock
tomorrow.
Purdy.
Tomorrow everyone reports with everybody else pretty much.
So we'll probably know.
It is.
So they report tomorrow. They're probably not really going to get to doing anything until like Thursday. So we'll probably know
most of the week.
Maybe Friday, Saturday, we'll start to get to some reports on who's taking first team reps with San Francisco. So, look, man, Jay, I think what we need to do before we get out of here is, I want to have fun, right? I want us to enjoy training camp. I want us to enjoy the reports, enjoy the hype, enjoy the videos. Let's try not to overreact too much, right? Not too much. And I think we've done a pretty good job so far. Like I like seeing the highlights, and I'm hopeful Justyn Ross makes the roster, but let's not make any wholesale changes over the first couple of weeks of training camp. Let's just kind of watch things play out, pay attention to the camp battles, watch some of these guys kind of duke it out, see who emerges as that RB2 or wide receiver 3, and then we'll figure out how to adjust and react after that. But I want to enjoy this. I think this is going to be fun. This training camp is going to be fun. It should be fun, and we should get excited about it. So Joe asked us a question. Can we go back to Wednesdays and Fridays again too? Very soon, Joe. Yes. Wednesdays and Fridays. Jay, we met about it this weekend. I think we're going to start this up maybe around the second or third preseason game. I think we'll transition, wake up back to 3 days a week. So that is on the way. We plan on doing some really good stuff this fall, bringing some guests onto the show. Jay Rich is going to do some different things. I'm going to do some solo stuff. So we're going to have some fun this season. So yes, here in the next couple of weeks, before the season starts off, Wake Up will have returned to its normal schedule of 3 days a week. So Jay, anything you want to say to people? We got some content stuff this week. Destination Dynasty. We've got the Overreaction pod.
Yeah, the crossover with Overreaction this week. So we got Destination Dynasty crossover with Overreaction. So Scott, Chase, and Cody did a pod. I haven't listened to it yet, so I don't know what it's about. But I know they were talking about our recent draft 36-team triple copy league and breaking down that a little bit. So that'll be interesting for sure. I'll be breaking down the receivers from a betting and fantasy perspective and comparing the markets for those on my pod tomorrow. Ray, I'm sure you don't know what you're doing on Saturday yet, but lots of great stuff.
I do know what I'm doing.
Podcast. I do know. Do you want to tease it for the people? Okay, let me hear it.
It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a fun show.
You literally say, I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing.
Zero pub.
It's going to be a fun show. Tap in. It's going to be a fun show.
And it's August 6th, I believe, is the confirmed date of you and Scott going live. Destination Chill.
Destination Chill.
That's the other update. Officially,
Scott, Connor, and I will host a brand new show. We will stream it. It's only going to be available on YouTube. I don't even think we're going to put it on a podcast. It's just going to be on YouTube. We'll stream it right now. In the off season, it'll be Sunday nights. In season, we will switch it to Wednesday nights. But it is straight Dynasty process. That's it. It's not Trades in 5, and it's not going to be Wake Up. It's not going to be what Jay Rich and I do, and it's not going to be what him, Clay, and Shane do. It's going to be marrying football, like the game of football, sort of what's happening, trends with fantasy and leverage and warp and data and process.
Yeah.
So he and I will be going live every single week here in a couple of weeks. So make sure you're tapped in. We'll be answering your questions. We want to set the stage and sort of retrain or give everyone another way to think about this game of Dynasty Fantasy Football. So we will be doing that every single week. And again, much different than Trades in 5 and much different than Wake Up. Other than that, Jay, I'm just excited to get the week going.
Man, and comment.
Yeah, drop a like, comment.
And maybe I'll leak the intro if we get enough comments.
Yeah, leak the intro. I will be dropping a couple of film sessions this week. I reviewed Jaylen Warren, the running back from Pittsburgh. Also, Jay, can I give you my sleeper RB1 in 2024 right now?
Like the RB1 or just an RB1?
The RB1 that I'm nowhere there yet, but I'm very, very impressed with this player.
Who is it, Ray?
He might be up there. I broke him down this weekend. He's going on the channel. Michigan running back. Running back.
No way. A Michigan running back. Oh,
Michigan running back. Donovan Edwards, man. Donovan Edwards from Michigan. Incredible player. Jay, you don't watch any Michigan, so you could stop the theatrics.
Did I not watch the game against TCU when they refused to run him on the edge?
You don't watch any Michigan. Hit my outro.
Was great against TCU.
Hit my outro music, Jay, so I can get out of here. Appreciate everybody tapping into the channel. Y'all have a fantastic week. Make it great. Tap into everything that we're doing at Destination Devy. If you stuck around, you like this stuff, hit the thumbs up button, like and subscribe. Stay tapped into everything that we're doing. Y'all have a fantastic week, and I will be back next Monday. Wake y'all ass up with Ray G. I'm out. Peace. Before y'all close off of the video, I just want to say thank you for checking out the content on Destination Devy. Really appreciate every single view that we get. And the only thing that I ask is that you hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, comment below for the algorithm. Really helps the channel grow. Now, if you want more exclusive access to me and the entire Destination Devy team, patreon.com/allgas gives you that access. Now, if your money's a little funny, we do have free content for you. Make sure you subscribe to the All Gas newsletter. There's a link in the description of this video below, and subscribe to the Destination Devy podcast radio feed, where we got all types of shows hitting airwaves every single week. Now y'all can get out of here. I appreciate y'all tapping in. It's All Gas all the time. I love y'all. I'm out of this thing. Peace.